We're talking about the Mason Punchers. First of all, there's a couple of things about Mason. One, they're the Cow Punchers.
Everything about Mason is awesome.
They're the Cow
Punchers. The
Punchers.
name, the field, everything.
They play in the best stadium in the state, the Puncher Dome, which is just fabulous. It is old horse racing grandstands. It's fabulous. And thirdly, they're super duper 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 good. This is a Mason squad that is 10-0. They have that week 11 bye week as well. And they, in 10 games, they gave up 48 points. 4-8. Okay? They pitched 5 shutouts. And this is just a remarkable Mason squad that looks like the Mason teams of old. And with that, we're happy to be joined on the phone by the head puncher, the head coach of your Mason Punchers. It is Kade Burns. Coach Burns, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
How are things in beautiful Mason, Texas?
They're good. We just wrapped up our regular season, and so we drew the short straw on the open week in our district, 17 districts. So we got the open week, the bye week as the last week of the season, and it came at a good time for us. So it's an opportunity for us to spend some time working on the things that we've got to get better at and really work on some details. And we don't really have an opponent really so much to look for right now, but we're trying to work on us and spend this time and enjoy being in this opportunity that we have right now.
You mentioned the Week 11 bye. For you guys play such a physical brand of football. Going into the playoffs, where you're going to obviously have to play with all hope, 6 straight weeks of very tough, very physical games. Do you feel like maybe the bye is coming at a good time to get healthy right before the playoff push?
It is absolutely perfect for us this year. It's when we drew the short straw, there's always some advantages and some disadvantages to it. And, just having this opportunity for our kids to heal back up because they've been going so long, so hard for and playing in physical games. And our last game was an extremely physical game. It's good for those kids to get a little downtime. We gave them off on Monday, and, that was good for them and good for their, getting them back in and being excited about coming back in there and kind of getting a little legs up underneath them a little bit. And so we spend this time and do it kind of like a lot of other schools do, but we try to have a little fun with them. And, we got a little downtime, so let's have some downtime when we do it. And so we have some things that we have for our kids that we try to make it fun and challenging for them, but still concentrating on the goal, and that's try to get ourselves better to win gold footballs.
You guys finished the year 10-0, and you run the wing tee offense, which is not something you see a whole lot across the state. And when we talk about quarterbacks and outstanding quarterbacks, we talk so much about guys who throw the ball all over the field. But your quarterback, Seth Hudson, he's got such a unique because of the system he plays in, he has such a unique set of responsibilities out there. Can you tell us a little bit about what Seth Hudson brings to your squad?
Extreme intelligence. He is, he's a fantastic athlete. We've seen that. This is his 4th year to start for us. Started as a freshman, and he's extremely smart. He's well versed in what we want to do on both sides of the ball. He's our quarterback on defense, safety spot, and he kind of gets everything communicated with those guys on the back end and with the coverages, and and we're fortunate this year to be able to spread the ball out a little bit. We're throwing at a high percentage. We're throwing at 61%, and I think he's about 13 touchdowns to 2 interceptions on the year, which is a good ratio. And he's closing in on 1,000 yards on rushing and passing. And so that's having a dual threat quarterback, whether, a lot of teams are going to spread and they do it, they do that and it's obviously successful. But for our kids, having a tight end and 2 back in there and doing those things that we do has been good for us. And it's nice to have a quarterback that can do the things we ask him to do. And so it's changed us up a little bit because of, his abilities that he brings to the table for our football team.
We're talking to Kade Burns, the head coach of the Mason Punchers here on DCTF Live. Get involved with the conversation. Hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, the other side of the ball hasn't been too shabby either. You guys give up 48 points all year in 10 games, and it's not like you guys ran through any weak schedule or anything. Your defense, what's the key to your defensive success this year?
Well, surprisingly, as complicated and diverse as the offenses are nowadays, we try to keep everything very simple for our kids. We don't want them to have to think a tremendous amount out there, and then it becomes down to running to the football, reading, reacting, and playing physical. It's a strange day and age of football now, because we'll play a team that maybe in slot T, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're an empty. Well, you've got to be able to defend those types of teams, and we play teams that are in wishbone, and all of a sudden now they're in one back. You've got to have kids that can line up and not get beat before the ball snaps. And we're fortunate enough to keep things simple for our kids. We don't want to complicate them, and we want to make it easy for them. So when they go in there on Friday nights, it's not so much. It's just defending and playing technique, and then running to the ball. And at the end of the day, we feel like running to the football helps us tremendously, and we spend a lot of time on training our kids to run to the ball. And I know that sounds elementary, but we feel like we've got to run to the ball. We're not blessed with 270-pound defensive linemen. We've kind of adjusted our defense to fit the teams that we see. So we kind of took out some of our big guys and put in a lot quicker guys, a little more athletic guys. So what we give up in size-wise on our defensive line, we make up for in quickness and speed and explosiveness. So, we kind of adjusted with the game a little bit, and we're trying to keep our big guys off the field. But a defense is very important. I don't think you can win the big game unless you have a great defense and defenses that force turnovers and get your offense back on the field.
The UIL doesn't do you guys any favors as far as, not that they have a whole lot of choice in putting you in Region 4, but Region 4 of your bracket is going to be just an absolute bear between y'all, Refugio, Shiner, Weimer, the Johnson City team that you guys just beat, that I know gave you guys one heck of a game. For you, do you view that as somebody who was in the state title game last year, do you view that as a hindrance, or do you view it as an opportunity to prove yourself before you get to what would hopefully be another berth at NRG Stadium?
We don't even really talk about it with our kids. We don't even really talk about it as a staff. We can sit and analyze it, discuss it, and at the end of the day, we knew going into it, if we were fortunate enough to win the district, we were going to get Shiner or Refugio right off the bat, round 2. And it is a very, very tough region. You're exactly right, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And Region 4, traditionally in the last 4 or 5 years, has been very, very stout. And the team that's come out of the region has done well in the semifinal game. But we don't really work on trying to defend other teams right now and look at those guys. We try to keep our kids focused on the games in hand, and it's out of our control, and we're gonna play and whoever it may be, and hopefully play well, and try to keep getting ourselves closer to that December football, and hopefully for that state championship game.
We're talking to Kade Burns, the head coach of the Mason Punchers here on DCTF Live. Join the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, one more question before we let you go. You play in my favorite stadium in the state of Texas. There at the Puncher Dome. Max can vouch. I don't shut up about it. It's my favorite.
We hear about it once a week. It's just the coolest.
As somebody who's there every day, or most days, is it still cool for you to play at such a unique venue?
It is still very cool. I grew up in Mason, so I played there in high school, and it hasn't changed at all. We've improved the facilities, but it's still. It's extremely loud on Friday nights, and I know that there's a lot of games that have bigger attendance, but for a small town to have 3,000 people on the home side or 2,500 on the home side, it's amazing how much sound is generated out of there. We have a special section for a band outside the dome, And last week in the Johnson City game, because of the weather, they moved up underneath, and it made it even more. It was unbelievable how loud it was. It's a great atmosphere to play. I think our opponents that come into town, they enjoy playing there. It's just a unique experience, and I always ask referees that come into town that referee our games, whether it be junior high games or sub-varsity JV games or freshman games or whatever it may be. I always ask them if they've ever been there and what they think of it, and it's not out of the ordinary for officials to come in and show up a little early and start taking pictures of our stadium, which that's not something that you see every day, especially in a 2A football team. So, but it's a really neat atmosphere. Our fans are great; they do a great job of supporting our kids. Our band does a really good job, and it's just a real neat experience. And last game was our last home game for our seniors, and it's a really neat sight to look up after the game and see your senior football players with tears in their eyes, knowing that that's the last game they're ever going to play in that game. And there were several of them that they just got down on the knee and kind of took it all in for one last time. And, that tells you how special the place is, not only to our kids but to our community.
He is Kade Burns. He's the head coach of the 10-0 Mason Punchers. Coach, enjoy your bye week. Best of luck the rest of the way, and let's plan on seeing each other at Energy Stadium. How about that?
That sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
There he goes, Kade Burns, the head coach of the Mason Punchers. I'm not kidding. It's my favorite. It's my favorite stadium. I've got a photo because my poor wife.
You never shut up about it.
We went on a road trip last summer. We drove to not this past summer, but the summer before that. We drove to Big Bend, which everybody should do, by the way. And
since you're just handing out
travel
your
advice here,
personal opinions left and right now.
And on the way back, we went to Fredericksburg and did some Central Texas stuff, and we were driving through Central Texas, and I kind of pulled up on my phone. I was like, we're like 15 miles from Mason.
We got to do it.
Jen, we have to do it. And so my poor wife gets dragged here. Let me tell you, it's old horse racing. I'll tweet a photo at Tepper of the venue. But the Puncherdome old horse racing grandstands that they've just kept up, it is remarkable. And I'll tell you, they're in Mason Fairgrounds. Yeah. There's a golf course over there, but the rest of it, there's a lot of dirt. There's just a lot. It's just the dirt fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And then you get to the stadium, and it is the most lush, beautiful, like ready to play the Masters on grass that you've ever seen. This plot of grass is I'm so envious, which means there's probably one guy whose one job it is
to nail that.
Do not make sure that grass
is
good.